Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha Jnanaekamurtaye Nirmalaya Prasantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Arunagirim Satchidanandamurtim Ramana iti Prithivyam Vishrutam Jnanasuryam Gahana Hridaya Vidyam Nilaya Bodhayantam Satatamaham Ameyam Sadgurum Samsmarani. My humble pranams. We will continue with our study of Devi Kalottaram. This is the teaching of Ishvara to Parvati Devi in an agamam known as Devi Kalottaram, and this particular section is named as Jnanachara Vichara Patalam. We will continue from where we left off last time. This is the 5th verse. We will take it up. Nirmamaha Karunopetaha Sarvabhuta Abhayapradaha Bhajet Kalottaram Devi Mumukshuhu Yoga Tatparaha. Ishvara tells Parvati Devi that your progress in the spiritual path will be faster, it will be accelerated if you have certain qualities. We are all moving towards that one consciousness, and some of these characteristics, attributes would help to move you in the direction. And one is nirmamaha, not having any mamakaram. Mamakaram is the sense of possession. This belongs to me. That is mamakaram. And this is the twin of ahankaram. First comes ahankaram. And once this egoic sense picks up, then we have this feeling that this belongs to me, and so many things, this body, this family, this job, everything belongs to me. But what Bhagavan says, and also Ishvara says in this, is this sense of possession will lead you to believe that you are the doer, as Professor Rao just now mentioned, that you are the doer, that you are acquiring all these things. Nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to Ishvara. Ishavasya midagum sarvam, says the Upanishad. Everything is his and not yours. Trying to claim something as yours is going to lead you into trouble. So when this mamakaram, actually in the Bhakti Margam, they try to attack this mamakaram. They try to tell you, keep on in your mind this particular thought, that it is all Ishvara's property, nothing is mine. Keep on doing this. And you can chip off this mamakaram. And when mamakaram gets weakened up, even the sense of I also gets weakened up, because they come together. So here Ishvara says, nirmamaha, you should have this. Karunopetaha, karuna upetaha. Karuna is compassion. One should have compassion. Compassion is something that, binds you with everything. And you have the feeling that you are just one amongst the creation, and everybody is like me, and I should be able to help others, and so on. This compassion is something that will take you towards that consciousness of just one, the ekatvam, the ekatva bhavam. Sarva bhuta abhayapradaha. This is the key operative word. Sarva bhuta abhayapradaha. Sarva bhuta is all living creatures. Ishvara says that no one should be afraid of you. You should be able to protect everything, not just the human beings, but also the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, everything, all living beings. You should have compassion. You should have the bhavam of ahimsa. You should not harm anything. That kind of a thing to be cultivated by you. So this sarva bhuta abhaya pradaha, this abhayam is actually another way of saying this is ahimsa, not doing any harm to anybody. When you take to sannyas, the last act of the ritual, there's a big ritual. And one by one, you do many things, and finally you come to this stage where what is known as a Praisha Mantram is uttered. Praishocharanam, they say. This Praisha Mantram is what Adi Shankara uttered when he took sannyas. I remember the story that we saw. Professor was also mentioning about the crocodile grabbing you and all that. Crocodile grabbed the feet of Adi Shankara, but in his case, he told his mother that if I become a sannyasi, then it is akin to taking another life. So I will be saved in this life. So I will live, but I will be a sannyasi. I want your permission to do this. So finally, the mother was forced to give the approval for his sannyasa. What he did at the time to take the sannyasa was this Praishocharana. This Praisha mantram goes like this. Sarvabhuta abhayam sarvabhutanam matta swaha, he says. Matta, from me. I have this assurance, I give this assurance that no creature in this world should be afraid of me. I give this assurance. That is such a great sentiment. No creature in this world should be afraid of me. So when you utter this as a last portion of the ritual of taking to sannyas, then I believe you become a sannyasi, and the sannyasi is supposed to carry out this particular oath very diligently, not make anybody afraid of him. So, in the case of Bhagavan, it was even a level higher than this. Ahimsa, he used to say, ahimsa is just not, refraining from harming anybody else. Ahimsa is even when unprovoked violence is directed towards you, you do not resist it. He used to say that non-resistance to evil is the ultimate ahimsa. And he lived that. We can see that in his life. So many things happened when he came to Arunachala hill. There were a lot of sadhus who were jealous of him because till the time that he came on the scene, people used to visit them and then give them some dakshina or the other, they used to get their livelihood. But after Bhagavan came, the crowd started going to him because even though he was not speaking, the divine radiance was so very visible. It is unmistakable. So people used to go to him, and many of the sadhus who were neglected in this manner, they were very jealous. It seems once there was a sadhu who used to go to see Bhagavan when he was in Guru Murtam, and he used to have a lot of respect for him. But when he changed his location to Virupaksha cave, where he was living, then the things started becoming different, and people used to go only to Bhagavan and nobody came to the sadhu. He was so frustrated, he was desperate. It went to such an extent that he decided to do away with Bhagavan. He, a sadhu, decided to kill Bhagavan. So one day when Bhagavan was sitting near the cave, from the top of the hill, some rocks started falling on him. And in the beginning, he thought it was just some accident, but when it started regularly in a very, disciplined manner, started falling around him, he thought, okay, somebody is doing a mischief, and he went the other way up the hill, and then he caught this sadhu in the act. Of course, he laughed it off, saying it was all a joke and all that. But Bhagavan did not even admonish him. Seems Bhagavan just gave him the message by just looking at him that, I know your game. I know what you are up to. That was all, just by a look. And he came back. It is said that he shared the same cave with that sadhu for many more months. That was the thing. Without any kind of a complaint, without any kind of an admonition, he shared the same cave with that sadhu. And then, of course, we know the story of Perumal Swami, the attendant, who was so very upset with Bhagavan when the ashram management was handed over to Niranjanananda Swami. He wanted to become the manager, and when that did not happen, he was very frustrated. Frustration went to such an extent that he started maligning Bhagavan. He went out of the ashram, started a campaign against Bhagavan. In fact, he filed a case against Bhagavan in the court saying that, the property belongs to me, but he has handed it over to somebody else and so on and so forth. And he used to print pamphlets and then, distribute it to all the people, all kinds of, scandals about Bhagavan, untrue scandals about Bhagavan. So the ashramites were very frustrated. And they used to tell Bhagavan, we need to do something. Bhagavan used to say, no, you should not do anything at all. That is not our dharmam. Sadhu dharmam is not to, if violence is directed against you, you also start doing the same thing, then there is no difference between you and the other person. So our dharmam is just not to resist. You should have more and more patience. Things went to a great extent, and finally what happened was this person lost his case against Bhagavan. He was impoverished. He also had contracted some diseases and so on. And he was in a very bad shape. And he came back to a place near the ashram. Nobody cared about him. He was in a very bad shape. When this news was brought to Bhagavan, it means Bhagavan said we should send food to him. We should send every day some food and some medicines to him. Ashramites were horrified. They said, Bhagavan, what is this you are saying? He tortured you for so many years. How can we do this? It's just not possible for us to go and then give him food. He's a Rakshasa. This is what they said. This is Bhagavan said, you know only one side of this Perumal Swami, but I know other things about him. In the very beginning, when he was my attendant, he took care of me. He took care of me so well. In fact, there was a time when I was suffering from a cruel form of dysentery. I was not even able to get up and then walk, but he stayed with me. He cleaned me up so many times in a day without any complaint, and he nursed me back to life. As I was saying that, Bhagavan's tone of gratitude, he was overwhelmed about that feeling. Oh, he remembered only that portion. So he said, so send food to him. And this man came one day to Bhagavan. He was overwhelmed when people came and then gave food to him. And then when he wanted to know, yes, Bhagavan sent this food. He was overwhelmed by that. And he started, regretting. And finally, he came one day to meet Bhagavan and started sobbing uncontrollably before Bhagavan. Bhagavan, I have done so much. I have committed so many sins against you. I don't know. And then I believe he said, I will only go to hell. Till the time Bhagavan was listening to him patiently. When he said, I will go only to hell, it seems Bhagavan said, do you think that I am not there? Do you think that I will not follow you there, follow you up to that place? So Abhayam means protection up to that level. We may ask, will this work practically in our life? This is meant for sadhakas. And it is not a dharmam that is, advocated to a government or a society or some such thing. They have their own other dharmam to protect the nation, protect others, and so on. But somebody who is desirous of this moksham, he should remember he should not have any ill will under any circumstances. Only then will it be possible for you to move towards that ekatva bhavam, that one consciousness. This is what Bhagavan tries to say by this. His sarvabhuta abhayapradaha, protection to all creatures, all living beings. Please remind me when the time is. Bhajet Kalottaram Devi Mumukshuhu Yoga Tatparaha. These people should cultivate these attributes, plus also follow this Kalottara Jnanam, which he is going to say, the instructions that he is going to give. When you do that, the Mumukshu will really benefit. So Bhagavan's translation in Tamil, beautiful translation. Mamadai Indri Karunai Manni, he says, Karunai Manni. பூதங்கள் தமக்கு எல்லாமே அபயம் தந்து முமுக்ஷுவாய் யோகத்தில் தத்பரனாய் ஓதும் இக்காலோத்தரத்தின் ஏக வழி நிற்க இசைந்து. He adds a word which is not there in the moolam. Eka Vali. It's an interesting word because the first part is a pure Sanskrit word and the second one is a pure Tamil word. So he combines these two things and he says, Eka Vali. You should go through this singular path. Anybody who is desirous of moksha follows all the instructions that is going to come now. You should follow that one singular path, leaving all other things aside. Because this is a crystallized knowledge that is being presented to you, follow this. Don't have any hesitation and follow this path. That Eka Vali that he is going to instruct later on in this particular text is the path through this subject I, the I consciousness. Imagine I being a door. He says, go stand near the door and knock on the door. Relentlessly knock on the door called I. The door will one day open. So that is way you will be able to reach the other side of the door. So what happens when you reach the other side of the door? We do not know. Only a jnani knows what it is there on the other side of the door. But Bhagavan says, when you reach that stage, you will feel there has never been any door at all. It's all an illusion. We created an obstacle for ourselves and then we struggled to overcome that obstacle. And finally, when you reach the other side, there has never been any obstacle at all. There has never been any door. I've been all along myself. Like just as Professor said just now, when you wake up from the deep sleep, all that you dreamt of, everything vanishes, collapses around you. There's nothing at all. So what has happened to you? You have been all along yourself and you come back to be yourself. And you took a detour in between and then you felt a great amount of struggle and then you wake up again. This is what will happen to a jnani when he is able to finally reach the goal. The goal tells you that these obstacles have been man-made, may have been mind-made, and they have never been there. But that you will know only after you put in all these struggles and then finally go and do that. So, Eka Vali, he says, Eka Vali nirka isaindu. He says with wholehearted manner. This is another word that he adds. Bhagavan adds in this translation, these two words. It should be a wholehearted approach. It should not be a part-time thing. You cannot be a part-time sadhu. You have got to give your entire thing to this particular path and you will be able to reach the thing. There are a couple of verses together. They have to be read together. Sa Brahma, Sa Shivo, Vishnuhu, Sa Indraha, Sa Shadananaha, Sa Guruhu, Sarvadevanam, Sa Yogi, Sa Tapodhanaha. I will continue. Panditaha, Sa Mahabhagaha, Kritartaha, Paramartataha. Chaladvayu samam chittam dhriyate yena nischalam. This is the operative sentence, the last sentence. He who is able to hold the mind, which is constantly wavering, like a whirlwind, keeps on moving around, does not give you any peace at all. That mind, whoever is able to hold that mind, dhriyate, same word that is used for dharmam also, dhriyate. You are able to hold it, the mind, which is so much of, having the nature of wavering all the time, moving about all the time, then you become divine. All these divine, Indraha, Shadananaha, all these things. He mentions all the deities and then says, you are equivalent to those deities if you are able to hold your mind. Be still and know that I am God. The biblical statement says the same thing. The stillness is equivalent to being divine. Mind being still is just divinity. That is all there is, nothing more. So he says, Chaladvayu samam chittam dhriyate yena nischalam. The vayu that is moving around all the time, if you are able to grab it and then hold it, that is equivalent to being all the divinity. Nischalam, make it still. That's what is required to do. He says the importance of making the mind still is all there is. And this mind is always compared to wind. That is because of the changing directions and constantly wavering, not being in any one place at any time. But there is a deeper reason as to why they compare mind to the wind. The wind is recognized as such only by the movement. When the wind is still, what is there? What entity is there? When the wind becomes still, what is the entity there? There is nothing. It goes back to being the atmospheric space. And in its movement alone, the wind is recognized as a force. Similarly with the mind is only movement. Consciousness in movement is called as mind, and mind in its stillness is called as consciousness. There's no difference at all. Mind and consciousness are one and the same, except for the fact that mind is something that moves. Moves in what way? It moves to catch hold of something that it thinks other than itself. It catches hold of something. This movement in consciousness is a thought. It's like a ripple on a water body. Suddenly a ripple appears and the ripple goes back. So it goes back to being water later on. This ripple attracts your attention because of the form and the shape that it assumes. It draws your mind. But actually it is nothing other than water alone. All the time it is just the water, but the ripple appears to be something separate. So Bhagavan says, there is no such entity called as mind. Very difficult for us to believe this. It is because of this reason. When the mind stops, a jnani would say there has never been a mind. It is non-existent. It seems once Maurice Friedman was sitting in the hall. He asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, you are so powerful. Why don't you kill my mind? Kill my mind. You can do anything. I don't want this mind. Kill my mind. This means Bhagavan laughed and then said, oh yes, sure, I'll do that. Hold up your mind and show it to me. I will knock it down. The point that is being made is, can you really catch hold of an entity called a mind and hold it up? It is not there at all. That is the difficulty. The non-existent mind is the one that is troubling us so much. And we need to get over it. This is the illusion. This illusion has to be got over. And further instructions about mind and other things, Ishvara will continue with the things. With this, I will. Time is there? Yeah. So this is the verse number 7. I will go back to one more verse I will take up. Sa upayo vimokshasya sadupatta gunastu saha sa prajna tat iha stairyam tat punyam vyavasayinam, those who are making a struggle. The same word that he used earlier, vyavasayinam. He says, sa upayo, stilling the mind is the means. Somebody who wants to get moksham, he should recognize this fact. Stilling the mind is the means of getting there. A release from all this suffering hinges on your ability to still the mind. Sa upayo vimokshasya sadupatta gunastu saha. Upatta gunastu saha. So he gives a series of advantages of stilling the mind. He says, this is the best means to rely on for a sadhaka to reach moksham. It's a great habit to cultivate. Sadupatta gunastu saha. Great habit to cultivate. Constantly look for stilling the mind. There are many instances in our daily routine where the mind need not be used at all. As Professor was saying, you do not really use the mind when you have to do routine work. It happens by itself. But somehow we start thinking that here I have to pay attention. Pay attention to whatever needs to be done, but come back. Come back and then be in your state of stillness. So he says that this is a great habit to cultivate. It is pure consciousness. As I said, when the mind becomes still, it is consciousness, which is the goal. If you want to really reach the goal of pure consciousness, then stilling the mind is the only way. It is state of firmness. Thairyam is a word that Bhagavan uses. It is a state of firmness. It is righteous duty. It is dharmam. And it is pilgrimage to all holy waters, he says. Everything that can be good, that is considered as good in a religious sense, all that finally boils down to stilling the mind. So cultivate this habit all the time, still your mind, and then finally reach the goal. So this is the second verse. With this, I will stop and continue with it. Thank you very much.